Transformer Cyberverse series, we have two new Scout class female Transformers. We have Slipstream and we have Windblade. In this case, we have the Sonic Swirl Slipstream and the Turbine Thrash Windblade. So I'm going to use this video as an excuse to give a history lesson of Slipstream and all her past incarnations of this new created character, as well as, you know, do a little bit about Windblade too, but more just to talk about the toy. So this is Protoman, this is ProtoRetro, and let's do this.
ProtoRetro.
So here we are, the two Transformer Cyberverse female jets that are available as of this moment. I'm going to use this video, like I mentioned before, to talk about Slipstream's entire history, how she came about, and everything, including her name trademark. In the future, I will be doing an entire historical video about Windblade and her first ever Transformer made by the fans history and all her past toys. But today we're just going to be reviewing the two toys, and I'll use it as an excuse to talk about Slipstream today and her stuff. She will get that same treatment in the future. So, let's talk about Slipstream for a moment. Now, the trademark of the name actually dates back quite a bit in Transformers' history and in Hasbro's history. When you go back to 1986, there was a G.I. Joe character by the name of Slipstream, and he was a he, and it was a pilot, so at least there was that jet connection, I guess. But he had a mustache, and he was kind of forgettable, but it played up the name Slipstream because planes sometimes use slipstreams, which is to use the back-end draft from behind another plane to gain more speed, and that's where the name came from. Now, playing off of that name, we finally enter Transformer history with this guy here, also a he. This is the character of Speedstream. Now, this was a Generation 2 and late UK release of the Aqua Speeders, which were these, you know, Transformers that shot water out of them. Now, in America, he was called Speedstream, but a lot of these Aqua Streamers and, Aqua Speeders and the Laser Rods, a lot of them got released in the UK and other places in Europe and had different names. No reason I can really think of outside of, again, Hasbro wanting to double trademark on some of their names. And, well, this character here became known as Slipstream. So the first time we ever had a Transformer named Slipstream was this guy right here, this Formula 1 Decepticon, although sometimes an Autobot. Really confusing, eh? So that was pretty much it for a while. And we had the Armada game in America, and that had a golden Formula 1 Minicon, which was kind of, I guess, a repaint of Swindle from the Minicons of Armada in the game as Slipstream, but that doesn't really count because never had a toy, never had a trademark. We don't really see anything of Slipstream again until we get to the IDW movie comics, and again, a no-name character named Slipstream. A couple of panels in the UK, never got used again, drawn by Alex Milne, under the water. And then we get to animated. Now, granted, this here is the 2010 club exclusive Slipstream. This was the very first ever Slipstream toy intended to look and be based on that Slipstream character that debuted in 2009 of Transformers Animated. Now, this was the club exclusive subscription service. It was the first year. I believe it was the second one you got in the mail. And it was lukewarm, to say the least. It was a repaint of the Transformers Prime Starscream because the Transformers Prime Starscream was quite feminine. But it was the only Slipstream toy we had for quite a while, and it was the only one that we could really have in our animated shelf if we wanted to have Slipstream. But people were not really satisfied with that, but it's all we had. I will get to the robot mode when we do the unpackaging and robot mode of everything. Of course, then in 2014 we had a Creo. There's no robot mode with this one, unfortunately, due to the lack of pieces that came with the fourth wave of blind pack Creos. But yeah, she got a Creo. Pretty cool. Obviously, repaint of Starscream and stuff, using the Starscream pieces, but it's nice that she got one. And then we finally got probably the best Slipstream toy up to this point, at least based on the animated incarnation, in the amazing Sakamoto series Legends Slipstream. Now, the story with these ones was that Sakamoto did his incredible line of female Transformer repaints for the Transformers Legends line. And we got a slipstream out of it using the Windblade mold, which would later be used also when we were working on the Bakon set that we got AirRazor from. So this was a cool slipstream we got from it too. I will compare it next to the others afterwards. And of course, there was also a slipstream in Transformers Robots in the Skies, but that was again a trademark holder. It was a he character, it was a silly little yellow and red minicon that really didn't serve no purpose. So, enough babbling. Let's crack open these guys and talk about more of the packaging and robot mode. Now, normally I start with alt mode when I do my reviews, but because of the whole aspect of how the gimmicks work with these toys, especially out of the package and the reveals and everything, this is how I'm going to go about it. I'm going to go from robot mode to alt mode because it's kind of a weird way that the gimmick worked with these. Now, Cyberverse, when it was initially shown, a lot of the smaller scale stuff and some of the larger scale stuff had a lot of stuff that made fans nervous. The show was pretty good, but I'll say this right now, a lot of the toys have been very lackluster, and unfortunately the trend kind of continues even with the Scout classes here. Now, everything is very gimmick-based, and on top of being gimmick-based, alt modes have kind of been shot out the window because of the gimmick-based nature. So you might look at the back of the packaging here and go, okay, we got the Sonic Swirl and what looks like an alt mode there. Yeah, not quite. Let's start with Slipstream here. So you have the robot mode, and when you transform up here, and you could tuck in the arms here, you think, okay, we're going with something here. All right, we're already almost there at an alt mode. And the gimmick is that there's a pivot here that when you turn it, oh, the wings turn. Okay, maybe it's a auto transformation kind of thing. But the thing is that when the wings are straight like that, the gears don't let the wings move. When you turn it, you have a pivot here and a little extra piece here that prevents it from going any further. But now the wings freely turn. That's the Sonic spin gimmick. Now you're probably wondering, okay, well, you're going to finish this transformation, right? Unfortunately, you can't. The whole point of this peg is to prevent it from going all the way, and then you just pretty much have that. A Gear Walker mode from Macross, if anything, or Robotech for some people. And you have the Sonic spin mode with these free spinning wings, which, by the way, pop off very easily off of the pegs that they're on if you don't transform it in a specific order. And that's it. You can't do any more. Now, obviously, some people might say, well, maybe you could kind of, move the legs a little bit. They actually put pegs in here, if you look carefully here, in between the legs that try to lock them in if you try to move it all the way to the back. But I mean, if you just, then you kind of get those wings in the front and try to position it a certain way and then lock in that. Yeah, there's your jet mode. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. There was no intent actually for an actual jet mode. It's more of an emphasis on a gimmick, if anything else, and the Sonic spin gimmick. Yeah. So if you like your Gear Walker modes from Macross, then that's great. But again, otherwise, you're better off just keeping it in robot mode, which again, what sucks is, because of this Sonic spin gimmick, I'm going to try to put it back here. That's what I was talking about. The wings get kind of in the way when you're trying to do the trick. You have to do it a very specific way, otherwise you're going to have a wing piece pop off. And there you go. Very unimpressive that they would do something like that. They could have just had a small scale version of the character, which would be cute and fun to have. Instead, we kind of have this pretty much only looks good in robot mode figure. With a 3mm peg point, so at least it could probably hold weapons, but also, because it doesn't have proper heels, falls over very easily too, because the gimmick is back there and creating all that weight. Quite the shame. suffers from the same thing. At least with the back of the packaging on this one, they're kind of honest with the legs also doing the gear walker mode. So with her gimmick is that she looks like so. She has a 3mm peg point on the shoulders in this case, excuse me, on the forearms, so she could kind of plug in weapons there as opposed to having them in her fists, which kind of sucks because then if she does have a massive sword, you won't be able to put it in there. But transformation is you take this piece and then you're going to put it here, and then the second you plug it in, all of a sudden these things pop out. And you're like, okay, so what else to do? So you move these up here like this, I guess, and then the slightest bit of, oh, this torso turns. And guess what, guys? There's your alt mode. No joke. These actually could be plugged in again. If you unpop this a little bit, it won't pop out, but if you actually have it transformed, these are kind of permanently going to be out there to make her, in this case, it's called the Turbine Thrash. Again, playing on the emphasis of the gimmicks in this. Now, can we make an alt mode? Kind of, I guess. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe you pop this out. Looks pretty bad. Yeah, well, again, that was the whole purpose of doing this review, was I wanted to let people know which Cyberverse toys were good and which weren't, and these were two characters that a lot of people were excited about, and unfortunately, outside of having some at least nice looking alt modes, robot modes, the alt modes leave nothing to be desired, and this is a problem that I've talked about on my podcast too with the upcoming Hot Rod one that's coming. Is just, yeah, it's kind of messy, some of these toys, and it's a shame because the line looks pretty cool. So if you're looking to get a Slipstream toy, possibly wait for that ultra scale one. I haven't messed with it yet. It also is going to be gimmick based, but it looks like it has at least something of a jet mode and a robot mode. The only difference is it's going to be an ultra scale, so the scale to your other warrior scales and your deluxe class stuff and everything is going to be kind of out of whack, so it's a real shame that Slipstream isn't going to get a proper toy. We do have a warrior/deluxe scale Windblade coming. I'll review that when I get it. It does look like it has something of a normal alt mode, but even the deluxe warrior scales kind of have very weird robot modes that aren't really matching of that of the animation model. That's the one thing at least here, is that these at least look like the animation model, these legends. So it's something that I think a lot of people, and the Hot Rod too, also the Scout Legends, whatever you want to call it, at least they kind of look like their animation model in the Scout scale, where the deluxes are very bulky and messy. So far, this line hasn't impressed me in terms of the engineering and matching what's in on the show. But let's see what else comes in the future. But otherwise, I can't really recommend these unless you really like these characters. And it's a shame because Windblade, especially, who's the star of the show, and she needs some better toys to represent that version. But I mean, the paint's good at least. Has a nice face. Slipstream, we'll stick to your Legends scale toy. Still the best one of you thus far. So that's all I could say, really. So this is Protoman of ProtoRetro, and this has been a video review of the Transformers Cyberverse Turbine Thrash Windblade and the Sonic Strike Slipstream. Until then, guys, take care, and as always, roll out. Like what you saw? Be sure to like and comment on this video. Also, if you've not already, be sure to slam that subscribe button, as well as follow me on Twitter @Protoman and the Transformers Slag podcast with me, Protoman, and Jaws D. We also have Patreon, so be sure if you want to support us, check that out. And as always, thanks again from Protoman of ProtoRetro.